Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called Qilang. In Liaoyang, there was a man named Wu Qingxiu, who was adept at making friends and knew many famous people. One night, Wu Qingxiu had a dream in which someone told him, "Now, your friends are scattered all over the country, but in reality, these friends are not your true friends. Only one person can share hardships with you, so why don't you know him?" Wu Qingxiu asked, "Who is he?" The person said, "Isn't it Qilang?" Wu Qingxiu woke up suddenly, feeling puzzled by the dream. In the morning, Wu Qingxiu met his friends and asked them who Qilang was. Someone knew Qilang and said he was a hunter from Dongsuan. Wu Qingxiu then respectfully went to visit him in person. Wu Qingxiu knocked on the door with his riding crop, and soon a man emerged. This man, probably in his 20s, had round eyes like a tiger, a sturdy build, wore a greasy cloth cap, and a black knee-length apron with many patches of white cloth on it. He bowed respectfully to Wu Qingxiu and asked where he came from. Wu Qingxiu gave his name and lied that he was feeling unwell on the way and hoped to rest at his house for a while. Wu Qingxiu then pretended to inquire about Qiang's residence, and the man replied, "I am Qiang." Qiang invited Wu Qingxiu into the house. Inside, Wu Qingxiu saw that Qiang's home consisted of only a few dilapidated rooms, with walls on the verge of collapse, supported by tree branches. They entered a small room, where tiger and wolf skins hung between the pillars, and there were no chairs or stools to sit on. Qilang spread a tiger skin on the ground for Wu Qingxiu to sit on. As they conversed, Wu Qingxiu found Qiang's speech to be simple and straightforward, which he greatly admired. Wu Qingxiu immediately offered silver to Qilang as living expenses, but Qilang refused to accept. Wu Qingxiu insisted, and Qilang reluctantly took it and reported the matter to his mother. After a while, Qilang took back the silver and returned it to Wu Qingxiu, repeatedly declining to accept it. Despite Qiang's refusal, Wu Qingxiu insisted on giving it to him multiple times. When Qiang's mother heard about it, she tremblingly came to the small room. With a stern expression, she said to Wu Qingxiu, "I only have this one son, and I don't want him to serve you, this distinguished guest." Wu Qingxiu felt ashamed and had to leave the small room. On the way home, Wu Qingxiu pondered over the incident, unable to understand its meaning. Coincidentally, a servant had overheard Qiang's conversation with his mother behind the house and told Wu Qingxiu. Previously, Qiang had informed his mother about the silver, and his mother had said, "I just saw wrinkles on the gentleman's face indicating impending misfortune. I heard people say, if you receive someone's appreciation, you should share their worries. If you receive someone's favor, you should help them in times of difficulty. Rich people repay with money, while poor people repay with actions. Therefore, it's not a good thing to receive money from others for no reason. I fear that in the future, you will have to repay this person with your life." Wu Qingxiu was deeply impressed by Qiang's mother's virtue and respected Qiang even more. The next day, Wu Qingxiu once again arranged a feast and invited Qilang, but he declined to come. Wu Qingxiu went to Tian Qilang's house to find him, and as soon as he sat down, he demanded wine. Tian Qilang personally poured wine for him and treated him with deer jerky, showing both sincerity and courtesy. After a day, Wu Qingxiu invited Tian Qilang again, and this time he agreed to come. The two conversed harmoniously and joyfully. Wu Qingxiu wanted to give Tian Qilang silver, but he refused to accept it. Wu Qingxiu then pretended to want to buy the tiger skin from Tian Qilang, who finally accepted. Upon returning home, Tian Qilang realized that his collection of tiger skins was not worth the silver, so he planned to hunt for more and then give them to Wu Qingxiu. However, after 3 days in the mountains, he returned empty-handed. Furthermore, his wife fell ill, leaving him no time to hunt. 10 days later, Tian Qilang's wife passed away, and he used some of the silver given by Wu Qingxiu to purchase funeral supplies. Upon hearing this, Wu Qingxiu personally came to offer condolences and help Tian Qilang bury his wife, ensuring a high standard for both the funeral items and the ceremony. After Tian's wife was buried, he took his bow and crossbow and entered the deep mountains, eager to repay Wu Qingxiu with game, but he returned empty-handed. Wu Qingxiu, upon learning the reason for this, constantly advised Tian Qilang not to be anxious. He also earnestly hoped that Tian Qilang could find time to visit his home, but Tian Qilang was always uneasy about not having given the tiger skin to Wu Qingxiu and thus refused to go. Therefore, Wu Qingxiu insisted on taking the original tiger skins from Tian Qilang's house to prompt him to come faster. Upon inspecting the original tiger skins at home, Tian Qilang found them damaged by insects and devoid of fur, further disheartening him. Upon hearing this, Wu Qingxiu rode to Tian's house and tried his best to persuade him. Seeing the damaged tiger skins, Wu Qingxiu said, "These are fine. I only want the skins. I don't care if they have fur." With that, he rolled up the tiger skins and left, inviting Tian Qilang to accompany him. When Tian Qilang refused to go, Wu Qingxiu had no choice but to return home alone. Tian Qilang considered that these tiger skins were still not enough to repay Wu Qingxiu, so he took some dry food and went into the mountains to hunt. After several nights of waiting, he finally hunted down a tiger and handed it over to Wu Qingxiu intact. Wu Qingxiu was overjoyed upon seeing it and prepared food and wine, inviting Tian Qilang to stay at his house for 3 days. Tian Qilang firmly declined, but Wu Qingxiu locked the door, preventing him from leaving. Wu Qingxiu's other friends saw Tian Qilang's rustic appearance and privately commented that Wu Qingxiu was making questionable friends. However, Wu Qingxiu's treatment of Tian Qilang far exceeded that of other guests. Wu Qingxiu wanted to give Tian Qilang new clothes, but Tian Qilang refused. Wu Qingxiu secretly changed his clothes while Tian Qilang was sleeping, and Tian Qilang had no choice but to accept them. When Tian Qilang returned home, his son, acting on his grandmother's orders, returned the clothes and demanded back Tian Qilang's old clothes. Wu Qingxiu laughed and said, "Tell your grandmother that I've already taken apart the old clothes to make insoles for shoes." From then on, Tian Qilang would send rabbits, deer, and other wild game to Wu Qingxiu every day, but he still refused Wu Qingxiu's invitations. One day, when Wu Qingxiu went to visit Tian Qilang again, Tian Qilang was out hunting and hadn't returned. Tian's mother came out and leaned against the door frame, telling Wu Qingxiu through the door, Stop trying to lure my son with your ulterior motives." Wu Qingxiu could only bow respectfully and shamefully leave the Tian household. After about half a year, a servant suddenly reported to Wu Qingxiu, saying, "Tian Qilang got into a dispute while hunting a leopard and ended up killing someone. He has been apprehended by the authorities." Shocked by the news, Wu Qingxiu hurriedly rode to visit Tian Qilang, but by the time he arrived, Tian Qilang was already in chains and detained in prison. Upon seeing Wu Qingxiu, Tian Qilang didn't say much, only requesting, "Please take care of my mother in the future." Saddened, Wu Qingxiu left, immediately bribing the county official with a large sum of money and offering another 100 taels of silver to the deceased's family. After more than a month, the matter was resolved, and Tian Qilang was released. Tian's mother sighed and said, "My son's life was saved by Mr. Wu. I have no choice but to no longer coddle him. Now I only wish Mr. Wu a lifetime free from calamity. That would be my son's blessing." Tian Qilang wanted to express his gratitude to Wu Qingxiu, but his mother advised him, "You can go if you must, but there's no need to thank Mr. Wu excessively. As the saying goes, small favors can be thanked, but great favors cannot be repaid." When Tian Qilang met Wu Qingxiu, the latter comforted him with gentle words. Tian Qilang accepted Wu Qingxiu's kindness without further refusal or expression of gratitude. While others found Tian Qilang's demeanor cold, Wu Qingxiu appreciated his honesty and integrity, treating him even better. From then on, Tian Qilang often stayed at Wu Qingxiu's house for several days in a row. He accepted whatever Wu Qingxiu gave him without hesitation or attempts to reciprocate. On that day, which happened to be Wu Qingxiu's birthday, there were many guests and servants at the Wu residence, and the guest house was filled with visitors at night. Wu Qingxiu and Tian Qilang slept together in a small room, with 3 servants sleeping on straw mats beneath their bed. In the middle of the night, all the servants had fallen asleep, but the 2 of them were still deep in conversation. Suddenly, Tian Qilang's sword, hanging on the wall, leaped several inches out of its sheath, emitting a clang sound and gleaming with a cold, electric-like light. Tian Qilang was startled and immediately got up. He asked Wu Qingxiu, "Who are the people sleeping under the bed?" Wu Qingxiu replied, "They are all servants from the household." Tian Qilang said, "There must be a bad person among them." When Wu Qingxiu asked why, Tian Qilang explained, "This sword comes from a foreign land, incredibly sharp. It kills with a single blow, and whoever it strikes dies instantly. This sword has been passed down for 3 generations, and countless people or animals have been killed by it, yet its edge remains as sharp as ever. When the sword senses a bad person nearby, it will make a sound and leap out of its sheath, perhaps indicating that it intends to kill. You should associate with gentlemen and keep away from villains, maybe then you can avoid disaster." Wu Qingxiu nodded repeatedly. However, Tian Qilang remained melancholy, tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep. Wu Qingxiu said, "Fortune and misfortune are predetermined, why worry so much?" Tian Qilang replied, "I fear nothing. My worry stems from the fact that my old mother is still alive." Wu Qingxiu said, "Why suddenly bring this up? You worry too much." Tian Qilang said, "I hope all will be well and peaceful." It turned out that among the 3 servants sleeping under the bed, one named Liner was a highly favored young lad whom Wu Qingxiu adored. Another was a young servant boy, about 12 or 13 years old, whom Wu Qingxiu often commanded, and the third, named Li Ying, had a stubborn and unruly character. He often argued with Wu Qingxiu over trivial matters, and Wu Qingxiu frequently became angry with him. That night, Wu Qingxiu quietly pondered and suspected that Li Ying was the one who made the sword leap out of its sheath. The next morning, Wu Qingxiu discreetly sent Li Ying away. Wu Qingxiu's eldest son, Wu Shen, married a woman named Wang. One day, when Wu Qingxiu went out, he left Liner at home. The chrysanthemums in the study were in full bloom, and Wang thought that since her father-in-law was out, there would be no one in the study, so she went alone to pick the chrysanthemums. At this moment, Liner suddenly rushed out and attempted to harass Wang. Wang planned to escape, but Liner forcibly took her into the house. Wang resisted and cried, her face turned pale, and her voice hoarse. At that moment, Wu Shen heard the commotion and rushed into the study, causing Liner to flee. When Wu Qingxiu returned home and learned of the incident, he angrily went to find Liner, but Liner had already disappeared. After 2 or 3 days, Wu Qingxiu learned that Liner was hiding in the home of an imperial censor. This imperial censor usually worked in the capital, leaving household matters to his younger brother. Wu Qingxiu wrote a letter to request Liner's return out of professional courtesy, but the imperial censor's brother ignored the request. Infuriated, Wu Qingxiu brought the matter to the local magistrate for legal action. Although the arrest warrant was issued, the bailiffs refused to apprehend Liner, and the magistrate, mindful of the imperial censor's status, dared not intervene. Just as Wu Qingxiu was filled with anger and frustration, Qilang arrived. Wu Qingxiu said to him, "It seems that what you said has come true. The person who let the knife out of its sheath is Liner." He then recounted the situation to Qilang. After listening, Qianqilang's expression turned bleak. He remained silent and left on his own. Wu Qingxiu instructed his efficient servants to patrol and investigate Liner's whereabouts. Liner sneaked back to the Wu residence at night and was immediately captured by the patrolling servant and brought before Wu Qingxiu. Despite being tortured by Wu Qingxiu, Liner remained defiant and insolent. Wu Qingxiu's uncle, Wu Heng, a kind elder, fearing that his nephew's anger might bring disaster, advised him to let the authorities handle Liner according to the law. Following his uncle's advice, Wu Qingxiu took Liner to the public court. However, a letter from the imperial censor's household arrived at the county office, and the county magistrate promptly released Liner and allowed the imperial censor's steward to take him away. This incident emboldened Liner to behave even more recklessly. He openly slandered Wu Qingxiu's daughter-in-law in front of a crowd, accusing her of having an affair with him. Wu Qingxiu, helpless against Liner's actions, became enraged and rode to the imperial censor's house, shouting and cursing. Neighbors intervened to calm him down, and he returned home in frustration. The next day, a servant reported that Liner had been dismembered, and his body was dumped in a nearby wilderness. Wu Qingxiu was both shocked and relieved, feeling that he had finally vented his anger. However, not long after, the imperial censor's household accused the Wu family uncle and nephew, prompting the two to appear before the county office for interrogation. The county magistrate refused to listen to their defense and immediately ordered punishment for Wu Heng. Wu Qingxiu exclaimed loudly, "The accusation of murder is a false charge. As for insulting the officials, that indeed was done by me and has nothing to do with my uncle." However, the magistrate ignored his pleas. Enraged, Wu Qingxiu attempted to save Wu Heng but was seized by bailiffs. The bailiffs, bribed by the imperial censor's household, began to beat Wu Heng, who, being an elderly man in his 70s, collapsed halfway through the punishment. Seeing Wu Heng on the verge of death, the magistrate stopped further actions. Wu Qingxiu wept and cursed, but the magistrate remained indifferent. In the end, Wu Qingxiu had no choice but to carry his uncle Wu Heng back home, feeling overwhelmed with grief and anger but powerless to act. Wu Qingxiu wanted to discuss the matter with Tian Qilang, but Tian Qilang had never visited to offer condolences. Wu Qingxiu wondered why Tian Qilang, whom he treated like a brother, suddenly treated him like a stranger. He even suspected whether Tian Qilang had killed Liner. However, he then questioned why Tian Qilang had not told him beforehand if that were the case. Thus, Wu Qingxiu sent someone to inquire at Tian Qilang's house, only to find it locked and deserted, with no one in the neighborhood aware of their whereabouts. One day, while the younger brother of the imperial censor was bribing the county magistrate inside the county office. At dawn, someone came to deliver firewood and water. A woodcutter suddenly approached, dropped his firewood, drew his blade, and headed straight for the younger brother of the imperial censor. The younger brother of the imperial censor panicked, clumsily attempting to block the blade with his hand, but the blade fell and severed his wrist. Then, with another swift stroke, the woodcutter chopped off the head of the imperial censor's younger brother. The county magistrate was taken aback and fled in disarray. The woodcutter remained tense, looking around anxiously. The constables hurriedly closed the gates of the county office, wielding their clubs and shouting loudly, and the woodcutter immediately committed suicide by cutting his own throat. As the crowd gathered to identify him, some recognized him as Tian Qilang. When the county magistrate's panic subsided, he cautiously approached to inspect the scene. He saw Tian Qilang lying stiff in a pool of blood, still clutching the precious sword in his hand. Just as the county magistrate stopped to examine him closely, the corpse suddenly leaped up, once again chopping off the county magistrate's head before collapsing back down. The constables went to apprehend Tian Qilang's mother and son, but they had already fled several days earlier and could not be found. Upon hearing of Tian Qilang's death, Wu Qingxiu rushed to mourn him deeply, shedding tears of profound sorrow. People spread rumors that this incident was orchestrated by Wu Qingxiu through Tian Qilang. To avoid investigation, Wu Qingxiu had to exhaust his wealth to bribe those in power. Tian Qilang's body lay abandoned in the wilderness for over 30 days due to his heinous crimes, yet many eagles and hunting dogs stood guard nearby until Wu Qingxiu retrieved the body for a proper burial. Later, it was heard that Tian Qilang's son had drifted to Dengzhou and adopted the surname Tong. Skilled in martial arts, he rose through the ranks in the military, achieving remarkable feats and ultimately becoming a general. When he returned to Liaoyang after his success, Wu Qingxiu, who was then over 80 years old, took him to visit Tian Qilang's grave. At the end of the story, the author provides the following commentary. Not easily accepting a single coin's help, nor forgetting even a simple meal's kindness, speaks volumes about people like Tian Qilang. Tian's mother was indeed a wise woman. As for Qilang, his anger did not dissipate even after death, as he rose to kill the county magistrate. How extraordinary! If only Jingku, who failed to assassinate Qin Shi Huang, had such abilities, the regrets of 1,000 years ago would have been erased. If there were truly such people in the world, they could rectify many injustices, but alas, the real world is dark, and people like Qilang are too few. How lamentable. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tale. Qilang. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.